So Fox host Greg Gutfeld fancies himself as some sort of a comedian, which in itself makes me laugh because you can't really find actual funny comedians on the right. I know they're like, oh no, what are you talking about? It's liberals that don't have the sense of humor. Right-wing humor at this point is basically just like, I can say the N-word now. It's funny. Laugh at me. At least that's my impression. Or people trying to be just as, I think, as hateful as possible, but try to wrap it in a joke. Like, I'm being edgy. Anyway, that said, right, Gutfeld thinks he's a comedian, and on occasion he does say something funny. And he also, on occasion, or much more than just on occasion, says something so dumb that you have to think, is that a joke? Let's take this, for example, during the discussion of political ads. Juan Williams brings up the recent ad released by the Republican Party that has been compared to Willy Horton 2.0. So let's start out with that video.
You look at the ads, and there's a ton of ads right now going into the weekend, and the ads run by the Republicans are not talking about the economy, Greg, because it's not gaining traction with the voters as a persuasive
and that's
point.
That's a problem.
And the second thing I would say is, but look at the ad that is being run, the one that the president retweeted that has like some Mexican guy who shot I think it was a law enforcement officer saying, oh, I'm coming back, I'm going to kill more. I mean, you think, my God, this is Willy Horton all over again, when in fact we know from the numbers that in fact people who are here illegally have a lower rate of violent crime than people who are native born.
Was it wrong to point out that Willy Horton was a furloughed killer?
Yeah,
was that wrong?
No, I think.
I mean, are you on the side of Willy Horton?
No, I'm on the side of not playing to racial antagonisms in the society.
No, that's about
and
crime.
I'm on the side of not
that's about
saying,
crime and safety, not
George
race.
Soros.
You're
might
seeing
be
race. You're seeing race. Oh, nobody's seeing race here.
Nobody saw race in Willy Horton.
No, that was a furloughed killer.
Are you kidding me?
That was a furloughed killer.
You're
seeing race. I'm not.
Oh my God.
I'm seeing a furloughed killer.
We are a colorblind show, everybody.
I love that Waters at the end. Oh no, we're a colorblind show, guys. We don't see color. Let's move on. Quickly, let's move on. What? You're not going to let Juan Williams show you why that ad is racist? Of course, if you don't realize why the Willy Horton ad is racist, then maybe nothing will get through to you. Like, you'll never understand why it's been said, it's been called, even by people on the right, as the most racially divisive ad in modern history. But anyway, okay. So no, Gutfeld, he's seriously saying, what are you talking about? I don't see race. I don't see. No, that was all about crime. It was about crime. It was. I wasn't seeing race. You're the one who's seeing race. You're the racist. I didn't actually say that, but that's the intention, right? But we know what this ad's about. It's scary black man gets out because Democrats are soft on crime, gets out of prison, rapes a white woman, and murders someone else, stabs him 19 times. Now, there's crime that Mr. Horton did. And by the way, he never called himself Willie. He was always called himself William. They called him Willy Horton in this ad, H.W. Bush, because, again, that fits into scary, dumb black man, right? So that's why they called him Willie. Right? But it's actually William. So I guess from now on, I'm actually going to do that because I'm interested in, I don't know, facts. But anyway, so that fear, by the way, look, what happened, as I said, William raped a white woman, and that has been the biggest fear of people who are racist, people who are white supremacists, right? For example, this has been around for a very, very long time. The first movie, do you know the first movie screened in the White House was called Birth of a Nation? Birth of a Nation is basically a movie where there's an actor that put on blackface that went around and raped, white women, did crimes, right? So the heroes of that movie were the KKK. So, oh no, the Klan is the good guy, in this movie, and ultimately ended with them killing the black man, the guy in blackface. That's the movie, right? So the reason that I referenced that is that, look, this has been the gigantic big fear of conservatives, of white supremacists, I should say, for decades, for a very, very long time. So now Willy Horton, that ad basically was there to play on that same racial anxiety. And they used that to political effect against Michael Dukakis. So Michael Dukakis, of course, was in favor of the furlough program. As H.W. Bush pointed out, hey, look, he was in favor of the furlough program that allowed Mr. Horton to get out of jail on these passes and allowed him to do those crimes. Okay, well, as with everything, context matters. So let me give you the breakdown of here and see if it really makes a difference. I don't know if it does, but I'm going to give you that fact anyway. Now, on policy, the state inmate furlough program, which Republicans say, oh, we're totally against because that allowed Mr. Horton to get out and do these horrific crimes, right? That program was originally signed into law by Governor Francis Sargent back in 1972. Governor Sargent was a Republican. Now, so much for the Democrats being soft on crime, etc. Now, for Dukakis, Dukakis did argue, and he actually agreed with the furlough program up until this happened, and said, look, I think that's essential for rehabilitation. And he had vetoed a bill to limit that. So I guess if you want to blame Dukakis partly for this, okay, that's fair. Now, Dukakis didn't fight against that during his campaign. He didn't address that. He didn't say, hey, look, when I made a mistake with that legislation, or I still believe in rehabilitating criminals, being able to do so, but I did make a mistake with this one. And so he didn't fight enough against that, right? Against this narrative. So again, if you want to blame Dukakis as well, but don't forget, you also have Republicans that were in favor of that furlough program as well. So now, here's the thing. The policy itself had little to do with the ad. As I pointed out, it was meant to stir up that racial anxiety. And so some of the polling, when you point out, and when George H.W. Bush actually started talking about this, Horton in some of his speeches before the ad even came out, which, by the way, this ad wasn't even sanctioned by the H.W. Bush team, to be incredibly fair. This was outside an outside ad that was disavowed by the campaign itself, right? But nonetheless, H.W. Bush did talk about it, right? And he brought this into his speeches. And so that got people, white people, who were predisposed towards believing black violence to start turning against Dukakis and supporting H.W. Bush's campaign that much more fervently. So that was the effect, okay? That was the impact that this had. Then the ad came out, and of course, we saw what happened. It pretty much destroyed his presidential ambitions. And now we had George H.W. Bush, right? But again, you could say, but yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that they intended it to be racist or that it even was a racist ad. Not true. You had Republicans that were there. In fact, you had Lee Atwater, Bush's campaign manager, right? He apologized for that ad, saying that it was incredibly racist before his death. He's like, yeah, that Willy Horton ad we made, that was definitely meant to be racist. I apologize for that. Not only that, but you have Roger Stone, who worked on Bush's campaign. He even said, yeah, that ad was supremely racist. There you have it, from prominent Republicans. But Greg Gutfeld, well, he never got the memo. He said, oh no, it's not about racism, stirring up racial anxiety. It's about safety. It's about safety and security and all that wonderful stuff. It's not about racism. I'm colorblind. No, saying you're colorblind is basically saying that I completely ignore it when other people are being deeply racist around me. How is that any better? That's actually, look, it's maybe not worse, right, than donning a Klan hood, but it's pretty freaking close. So to say that it isn't racist is either incredible ignorance, or you know it is and you just don't want to admit it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.